way. And because there are multiple ways to do it, that it's really important to kind of stay up to date with the tools and everything.
Depends on the situation itself, and if you're shooting it, if you know how to get rid of people, you're more aware of how to shoot the actual situation. So,
right, because you know what you can remove, you know.
Or you might need the background, so you shoot an extra photo of the background, and
And the other thing was burst mode as well. I think a couple of people went out and switched their cameras to burst mode after yesterday.
Shoot a bit more, but get bigger cards, I think.
Big card, SSD card is the way. We might bring up the schedule so we can kind of give you an update on what we are actually doing today. So we are here with Ichiban. It is 1 o'clock here in Australia, so wherever you are around the world, we're here for 3 hours. So Photoshop in Motion with Ichiban, Benjamin Lee. Then we have Demis Rusley coming back. We're doing some Photoshop editing tips and speed painting in Photoshop with Jeff Chen. For some illustrators out there, and if you're into computer games and that sort of thing like I am, then you're going to have a good time. So we're going to geek out towards the end of the day. So it's 3 hours of content, lots of love for Photoshop, lots of stuff to learn. If you're in chat, say hello. Let us know where you're from. Festus is in from New Zealand. Good to see you. So say hello. Please ask questions as we go along, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go. But I think it's time to get stuck in. We were going to do some cinemagraphs today. Yeah,
so cinemagraphs, I think in this day and age, they're pretty good to post on social. Like everyone's posting photos, and I think this takes it to the next level of adding a bit of motion.
Yeah.
So especially on Instagram, a bit of subtle motion will set you apart from everyone else. And I think all the social media platforms are kind of boosting video because it's the next kind of step.
Yeah. As opposed to just a single static image.
Yeah. So they're all kind of trying to get people to push more videos out and stuff. Videos are more engaging. So cool. I've got 3 examples today, and today we're going to run through how to do some simple ones and some a little bit more complicated ones. But we're going to run through Photoshop, Premiere, and also After Effects. Because I've got some footage where I handheld the footage, and it's not that great, but you can fix it. So
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We're going to learn that. That's awesome. Hey, Robin from Singapore. Cool. Great to have you here.
Yo.
Vishral, very good to have you here.
Vish, what's going on? How are you, man? All right, so get started, I guess.
Let's do it.
This is the first one. So this is the finished product. You can see that it loops on itself, but because the mist kind of folds on itself, you can't really tell. If you're looking, you can, I guess. But I'll show you the raw footage. This is the raw unedited footage, and there's a lot of spray, so I had to wipe it down, and it was on a tripod, so this is actually pretty good footage. My friend was shooting my other friend, so that's Chino and Chona, but I think I yelled to him to get out of the way. But once he does, I knew that I only needed about maybe 10 seconds, 10 clean, good still seconds.
Okay.
So that's why, I fast forward a bit. So I yell at him and he goes away. All right, so then I framed it a bit wider because I knew I was going to crop from here for Instagram. But it's also wide enough for me to post it to stories, which is 9 by 16 or vertically. Yeah,
so you're thinking about the 4 by 5.
Yeah. So if I had shot it at this tight, it probably wouldn't get the whole thing in. So it'd be like that, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So when he runs away, I zoom out of it, get him to stand still, and then filmed for about maybe 10 seconds, maybe even less, I think, just to get that. Then I was zooming in to try and get a tighter composition, just in case. So trying to cover all my bases, I guess. So this one was on a tripod, like I said, so it's pretty easy to work with. So
is 10 seconds pretty standard amount of good footage that you'll want for a cinematograph?
Well, we've had Jam Tune on. He specializes in this stuff, and he usually does 1 minute. But
wow.
Yeah, you should probably do longer if you have the time. Like we stayed at a hostel, which is a 2 minutes walk from this massive waterfall, which is kind of amazing. But once the tour buses rock up, it gets flooded. So I didn't have much time, and I think I could
figuratively flooded, not.
With people tourists.
Okay, cool.
But I could see them coming from behind me, I think. So that's why we quickly got all these shots. And
right.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing about being out. Like you have to do the best with what you have, with the time that you have, and all that sort of stuff.
Have a shot list.
Yeah.
But it can get pretty overwhelming because I wanted to do stories, I wanted to do photos, and I wanted to actually climb to the top of it. And but so moving on to this, because the footage is pretty decent, it's on a tripod. I just cut out a clip pretty still, nothing really changes. So I don't really have to stabilize it. All I have to do is just fold it on top of itself to loop infinitely, which is good for Instagram if you loop it infinitely, because then people watching it can't tell when it restarts.
Yeah.
And they watch it multiple times, which is...
I feel like that's like a staple now for cinemagraphs. Like otherwise it's kind of a looping video.
Yeah.
I feel like if you can't perfect loop it,
Yeah.
I don't know if it hits the category.
Yeah. Well, some people like really look at it closely and point it out. And
oh, they'll say, oh, that's
Yeah.
slightly kind of, yeah.
We had a debate with James, and he was like, it doesn't loop, look, and we stared at it for like an hour. But yeah, most people don't have that kind of attention span.
That's true.
All right, so this is the clip I've just cut out. I can show you the section that I cut it out from. So he runs away, and it starts from here, and it just doesn't go for very long. I think it's only 6 seconds long. So there's birds flying this way, and then the water actually pushes up this way. So you have to be careful when you loop it that it folds onto itself properly. But it's really quick. So I like using Photoshop to do like quicker, kind of simpler cinemagraphs.
Yeah.
You can do it in Premiere, which I found out recently, right? But sorry, let me load it. Yeah. I think there are benefits for using Photoshop to do cinemagraphs. So when you load a video, this panel will come up automatically. It's the video timeline panel. But if it's not there, you can go to Window and pick Timeline. So it works like Photoshop. There's layers and that kind of stuff. So I'll do it really quickly to show you how fast it is, and then I'll go back and explain. So
cool.
It's a 6-second clip. You want to turn loop playback on so you can preview the cinemagraph loop. If your computer's not that fast, you can lower the resolution. So 50 is fine for now. So I'll go back and explain how I do this, but it is really quick.
Oh, hey Kai in chat, how you doing? You did make it.
Good,
we
Kai.
just started.
Yeah, probably takes, I don't know, what's that, 20 seconds? Almost done. You can zoom into your timeline if that helps. But once you're done, it looks like this. So this is where the fold happens, if you see this section.
Right.
And it's pretty seamless. Like you can tell that it kind of fades away here, but it's not too noticeable. Then you have the birds, just like a single bird that's looping up and down. But yeah, it took what, 20, 30 seconds?
Yeah, it's pretty fast.
That's if you have good footage.
Right.
So it helps if you film properly, but I realize that it's not always possible, which I'll show you in the next examples. And sometimes it's quick just to pull out your phone and you can actually make a cinemagraph handheld pretty quickly. So some tips for this. I'm going to run through the process again, but let's start again. Undo. All right, so I'll explain what I'm doing. So this is back to the start. This is the original clip. You want to trim the start section off. Yep, so you get for this one, I think every like cinematography you do varies depending on what's happening in the motion. This one's quite straightforward because it's on a tripod and everything's kind of very like expected, I guess. So yeah, so you want to trim a section of the front, which I'm doing by dragging. Then you want to click the video group and then you drag it down here to duplicate it. So it makes another layer, which is the same thing, right? Then you drag the new layer to the back, right? Then you extend the front. So that's the part we just trimmed, right?
Right.
So I'm putting the part we just trimmed at the back.
So even though you trim it, when you create a new layer, you can still extend it out.
It's
so
still
it's non-destructive, so you can pull it back.
It's the best part about this. And so then I'm cutting off the back. So now what we have to do, we have to make a fade from this point to this point. So you open this one. You can put it anywhere for now. You click this little stopwatch to start the opacity keyframe. And then you can move it anywhere, just further down. Press the keyframe button, then change it to 0%. So you're basically turning it off. And then from there you can kind of put the keyframes where you want.
It's like hacking a transition.
Yeah, pretty much. It's keyframing. So you can do this in Premiere Pro, but I find like opening a file in Photoshop is a lot faster if I just want to do this quickly. Whereas if you were to do Premiere Pro, you'd have to create a project and
sequence the whole thing. Yeah,
takes a while. So
yeah, and I think a lot of people out there are much more familiar with Photoshop than Premiere.
Premiere's good though. But,
oh yeah, once you learn it,
yeah,
for sure.
All right, so this is the playback. So just watch where the fold happens. I think it's pretty good. I'm sure you can get it a little bit more perfect, but I'll show you what happens when you don't do it properly. So we're just going to undo, start from the start. You need to experiment with each one, but for this one, right, if I just do a little bit, sometimes it's not enough and you can see the actual fold. So this is what you shouldn't do, but I'll show you how it looks. I only did a tiny bit this time, right? And you can actually see the fold, which I guess doesn't work for our purpose. You want it to be seamless. See how it just kind of, you can definitely tell there's a fold.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you need to, each cinematograph you do will be different. You just need to kind of see what's happening in the frame, and I usually take a few times to just kind of figure out what works best.
Find the sweet spot.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's pretty quick. So you probably don't want to export this one, but I'll show you how to export it. If you just go File, Export, and then Render Video. It comes up, and then you can spit out a video. It's pretty easy, right?
Pretty easy, huh? What format does Instagram take? Does Instagram take that H.264? Maybe we should just have a quick look at that, just in case anyone wants to try exactly this at home. H.264 is pretty standard.
Yeah, so most web digital formats are H.264, but I think it does take H.265 now too.
Right.
Well, my phone takes it, so that works. Yeah, I usually don't mess around too much with the settings, but these are mine. It depends on what you filmed it in originally.
Yeah.
But yeah, just have a little play around.
Cool.
So I've set the export settings. This is the 4:5 setting for Instagram.
Right.
So Instagram posts, you do this one. But if you were to do for stories, which is a bit taller, it'd be 1080 by 1920.
Right.
Yeah.
Easy.
So that's like an easy cinematograph with good footage, I would say. The next example, this one's a bit more complicated. So I filmed this handheld on top of a tower, and the tower was really cramped because I can show you the tower actually. It's the Victory Column in Berlin. So you're actually up here. There's a lot of people up there, and
I'd imagine
they bump you and like trying to keep your camera still while pointing at like.
So like this guy's taken 10 minutes to take this one photo.
And the thing is, the best viewpoint, which is this one, is right where the door is, where you exit to the top. So you have to kind of push yourself up against the thing, and there's definitely no room for tripods.
Right.
So I held it, and because I wanted to have this is a time-lapse cinematograph, I guess. You speed up time, obviously, and it folds on itself, so it's infinitely looping. But because I wanted to time-lapse it, I needed at least, I don't know, a good maybe 3 minutes of footage. So it gets pretty tiring trying to hold it.
For sure. You want to get it right.
Yeah. This is the original footage. It's not as fast or as exciting. But yeah, when you speed it up, you can tell when I like shook with it. I was trying my hardest to not move, but you know, what can you do really? I knew that I could fix it because I've done it before, like in a bunch of Adobe programs, which I'm going to run through now.
Cool. Yeah, there was a question in there somewhere, but it's gone.
60 FPS. So 60 FPS is a good kind of smooth frame rate. Like, especially depending on what you're doing. So
I think someone was asking. I don't know where the question's gone, but I think someone was asking. Is the difference between H.2, H.65 and H.64? Do you know?
Yeah, somewhat. H.265 is more compressed, so it's a smaller file. But at the same time, because it's more compressed, if you try and edit with it, depending on how big or how long the video footage is, it might kind of slow your computer down. Right. But generally, H.264 is what's used on the internet. So you upload to YouTube, that'll be H.264, and wherever else you send stuff. I think a lot of the phones are starting to use H.265 because you can get better quality for a smaller file size. Yeah, so eventually we might move that way, but for now, H.264 is the
standard,
main.
Standard, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you in Premiere how to do the same thing, but we're going to use Premiere because I want to speed it up. I need to stabilize and speed it up. So I'll show you some techniques on how to do that.
So you didn't shoot in time-lapse mode, you do it in post?
No, because, post, time-lapse mode, it's a bit difficult. Like, here I can slow it down to normal speed if I decide to use it, like slow it back down to normal speed. But if you're doing a photo time-lapse, you're stuck with that like fast speed.
Right.
And I don't know how that'd go if I just held it still. Yeah, there's more room to move with this one.
Yep, cool.
The files get quite big because it's like 3-minute long video. So
yeah.
It's fine. Get a bigger card.
It's like, yeah.
Alright, so I'll show you. Here's one I made earlier. So this is the video file. I normally, and this is, sorry, Premiere Pro, I should probably say that. I already opened it up, but I usually make a new sequence from clip. That way it just uses the file's settings and everything's kind of there.
Pulls everything in,
so you don't need to
and,
worry about too much. But just if you're wondering, that's my settings for now.
Cool.
It's quite a long video, so if I try and render it, it might take like 15 minutes. So I've pre-rendered stuff to kind of show you. But
cool.
One quick way to, when you first start, so this is the timeline. So notice at the start, I think I shifted my body a bit, and there's like a bit of a, so I want to kind of get rid of that, so it helps with the stabilization process. So I'll just cut the front off. And then from there, the first thing you can try is Wap Stabilizer, which it's a good kind of, it helps stabilize stuff, but it doesn't always work. So you can try it and see what happens. So you put it on top, and then go to the effects panel, Wap Stabilizer, I've typed it in, drop it onto the clip, and then you go to the effects control, which is where you can control everything, right? So it's gonna take a while. This one, I want no motion, because I want the thing to fold on to itself, and for it to not shift or whatever. Smooth motion keeps it a bit more steady, but it won't fold onto itself properly. So it takes quite a while. I'll show you one that I've done earlier.
Pre-rendered for us, I like this. It's like a cooking show.
Let me find the right one. Here's one I prepared earlier. Right, so I dropped Wap Stabilizer on this yesterday. It took like 15 minutes to render, but it didn't actually work. So if you scrub through it, when you play it normally, you can't tell. Right, but when you scrub through it, you can tell like there's some funny things happening. It couldn't quite figure out how to make it still. So that didn't work for this case, but it does work for some. So it's usually the faster and easier option if you can just quickly try it. Yeah. This is a longer clip, so 3 minutes of footage takes quite a while. So what I did was, let me delete the Wap Stabilizer after that. We're gonna go to After Effects, which is, there's more manual controls to stabilize stuff. And it's good for, like, you can save a lot of footage. So if you practice this a few times, you know the limitations of what you can save in post and what you can't. Better to shoot it properly, but sometimes you can't. Right. Yeah, they wouldn't let me up there with the tripod for sure. So the good thing with Premiere Pro and After Effects is that they talk to each other. So I'm gonna send it over to After Effects.
Yeah. I think Ishpreet in chat, if Wap Stabilizer doesn't work, that's exactly what Ben's about to talk about now. So.
And sometimes After Effects can't save you as well if your footage is that bad. So yeah, try to get it right in camera, but it's good to know where your limits are of like what you can fix and can't. So let's just call it Berlin 2. File naming system's the worst. Alright, so I don't know After Effects that well. It does feel a bit foreign if you've never used it before, but it's quite easy. Go to your tracking panel, your tracker panel over here. You want to go to track motion. And what we're doing now is manually setting the points of where to track, as opposed to Wap Stabilizer, which tries to figure it out on its own. Yeah. So quite easy. You hit track motion. It has this target box, right? What you want to do is pick something that's contrasty and that doesn't move in the video and doesn't get covered by something else. So it might get covered by, like, if you picked the road, for example, there's cars moving on it, and it'll mess your point up. So it's pretty easy. Just pick I did this yesterday, so I kind of know, right? But
you know which is the best, but you might have to play with this a bit.
This one's quite simple.
Yeah.
It needs to be contrasty because I've tried doing this with a cinemagraph in the sand dunes, and everything was sand and there was no kind of point to
Right.
onto. Yeah, that didn't quite work out. So, all right, you pick point 1, and the small box is what you're picking to track, right? And then the big box is where it might go. So the footage isn't that shaky, but I think the bigger box you make, like the more processing power it takes. So it's like you want to use like as small as you can, I guess. All right, so then you're back over here on the right panel. You go to stabilize. I want the footage to not move, so it can fold onto itself. So stabilize, and I'm gonna click a second tracking option. So wait, I want to account for rotation too. So there's position, which keeps it still. Rotation is if you're like, I'm holding the camera and I rotate left and right. And scale, I guess scale, it's if the subject or whatever you're shooting gets bigger or smaller.
Okay.
But I usually don't mess with that because it gets really complicated. But, oh shit. Yeah. You can make it bigger to make it easier to click the boxes because sometimes it gets quite small, but roller, you get to zoom in and out. A tip for this, right, would be to, when your second point, you want it in like 2 different kind of locations of your thing. So if I were to track something right next to it, it probably wouldn't be that accurate. Say if I were to track this.
It's too close.
Yeah, so yeah, go further out. The hit points are so small. All right, so I'm gonna click the ball. So this one I know won't move. And you want to make that a bit smaller. And basically you should probably like watch it. You can do frame by frame analysis, which you click this and it does 1 frame. If you have a complicated video where there's a lot of motion, a lot going on, you might need to do it manually, but it's quite simple. Nothing really happens, right? So you hit analyze forward, this button, the play button, and yeah, it's playing back at normal speed. So it'll slowly track and add keyframes to stabilize the footage.
Right.
Let's not watch the whole thing. I've already done it. So after you do that, here's one I prepared earlier. So this is the one I prepared earlier. Yeah, basically everything's kind of still.
Yeah, wow.
You can save a lot of footage that way, and I usually make a lot of cinemagraphs handheld, and some people get angry when they see me do that, but I can save it, and it saves me from carrying a tripod, which I don't like tripods at all.
And you can't always use one, and sometimes setting one up gets people angry as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does it actually trim the edges of the video to stabilize it?
Yeah, like so. I should have showed you, but to stabilize it, you can see like the edges that kind of it's like stabilizing and stuff, and you see it kind of cut off. So to counter that, you go to effects controls, and I've zoomed in a little bit. So I guess I can go out. That's how it looks.
Right.
See it like shifting? It's shifting. After Effects shifts the video to keep it steady, but then you lose a bit of resolution on the side. So it's not too bad. I shot a bit wider knowing that that would happen. So it's good to know how to adjust for that kind of stuff. So let's undo. I've also kind of straightened it a bit. So I think I was slightly off, but it wasn't quite straight, which kind of annoys me. So yeah, straightened it, and I had to crop in a bit more because of that. But that's how it works. And yeah, I can show you how I sped it up. So right now it's at normal speed. Pretty boring kind of video at the moment. So you can speed it up. So it's a three-minute video now. Because it's for social, I want to make it short and kind of concise. So maybe 5 or 6 seconds. That usually works pretty well. There's not too much going on, so I don't think you need to show too much. So I'll usually pick, I'm going to set an out point just so I know where to drag it to. So if you press R on the keyboard, you can stretch a clip or make it longer, more compressed, sorry. So this will speed it up. Expand the timeline a bit. Yeah, so there's a little trick I can show you to make your cinematograph a bit smoother. Right now it's like, it looks kind of jittery and stuff, so what you do is you go to time interpolation. Right now it's at frame sampling.
Oh.
You change it to frame blending.
Ooh, I don't know about this one.
It's cool, it makes everything kind of smooth. So between each frame it'll blend the motion.
Right.
Let me find it. See here? Like, because it's in between frame, it'll blend it. So I'll show you how it looks when it's off. It's just frames, right?
Yep.
And I've actually...
And that's why it's looking like that, because it's actually compressing single frames.
You're taking out all those frames to speed it up.
Yeah.
So I made some samples yesterday. I can show you the difference.
That's cool. Good tip. I like it.
All right, so this is frame sample, which is the original option. This is sped up. It looks okay, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, but with frame blending on, you go. This is how it looks. It looks a lot more smooth.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like this look. So
yeah,
there's a optical flow as well. You can mess around with that, but for this one, I want frame blending.
Very cool. Yeah, you can really notice the difference when you put them side by side.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, right? But all right, so I've sped it up to about 6 seconds, and you can actually do what we did in Photoshop in Premiere Pro. So you want to cut off, same thing. You just want to cut off the front and put it at the back.
It's like a second or second
yeah,
and a half or
you
something.
can just guess. Won't be perfect probably, but yeah. So it's almost identical to what we did in Photoshop. But since we already have this open, in Photoshop I went to opacity and I keyframed it so it fades away at the end. Same kind of concept, right? So right click the FX thing and then go to opacity, so it's on opacity. That affects this line thing, so I can drag down, it's like half opacity. Yeah, so I'm gonna go to where I want to start, press P for the pen tool, and because it's on opacity I can kind of mess with opacity. Yeah, so I'm setting the out point so when I preview this I can see how it's gonna look. But I don't know why Premiere does this, but there's always like a little kind of...
That end black bit.
Yeah, and then if you try and loop it, yeah, there'll be a black frame at the end of it and it won't loop properly. So I always zoom all the way in and then you just drag it. Alright, so to get it to loop, you can go here and there's loop. There's also a button, but you can toggle that on and off. So now we're going to preview how it looks. So notice right now is when it loops. It's pretty seamless.
Yeah, you can't tell.
Yeah, so we're kind of done. I can show you quickly how to just color grade as well. It's probably a bad place to put. Let's put it there. I won't go into too much detail, but like if you watched yesterday's episode, we did tone curves and yeah, everything's kind of the same. There are a few different things in video, but for video, I like to go to the curves and just add like an S-curve like I showed you yesterday. Yeah. Which adds a bit more contrast.
It's like a very subtle change.
Don't want to add too much. Alright, so it's made that a bit darker and then I can just add a bit of fade. I like a bit of fade for video, I don't know. Not too much. Yeah, then from there I'll go back to the basic correction and maybe add a bit more contrast, bring highlights down. So yeah, it's kind of blown out at the top. But yeah, I'm kind of happy with that already. Maybe something like that. You can check it by pressing that. You're turning it on and off just to toggle the color grade.
Like on and off.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's basically done. That's a time-lapse cinematograph.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing how fast you could do that. Like obviously when you take the rendering.
Yeah.
Take the rendering out. Skip that step. It's good.
Just go get a coffee or something.
It's
fine.
Yeah.
It's because this clip is a time-lapse, so it's 3 minutes of... I'm actually going to render the next one. So it took me about 10 seconds yesterday, so hopefully it works. Yeah, that's the cinematograph. You can speed it up even more, and if you want it to last longer, it's quite simple. You just copy that. So like for Instagram, you just want the video file to be this long, so it loops onto itself.
Yeah.
The shorter, it is, the more plays it'll get if it loops, right? But if you're putting it somewhere else, I don't know, like on a screen or whatever, and you want it to last a lot longer, because it's looped already, get rid of that. It's perfectly looped already. A cinemagraph, it should fold onto itself and just keeps going. You can't tell when it cuts, right? So yeah, from there you can export it. So that was Apple M, and then H.264. All the settings are kind of there already, and then just export 38 megs. But let's not do that right now.
Cool. Yeah, that was interesting. Karina was saying TVCs usually go to black frame at the end, so it might relate to that. Yeah, it might be left over, from TVC times.
I've never worked in TV, so yeah, that makes sense. I also like cutting to black a lot, but it doesn't work for cinemagraphs. So
right.
Yeah. All right. So that was quite simple. That's using Premiere Pro and After Effects to do the same thing that we did in Photoshop.
Yeah.
This also annoyed me a little bit, but I think I fixed it in my original one. But when you scrub through it, you can. Sorry. I think I fixed it in my original one, but I wanted the clouds to kind of stay still, and there's a bit of motion in the. You probably can't tell on the stream.
You're getting like zoomed.
Yeah, there's a bit of. I think the light changes a bit, and it's kind of annoying, and there's movement in the trees because of the wind, obviously, right? So I used Photoshop. I exported to Photoshop and then used that to mask it to keep everything still except for the road.
Right.
Which I guess we can do now.
Just export it as that H.264 file. Just drag it in.
Splits it out. So like I showed you how to export it. Might take a while now, but yeah. Actually, we can do that in the next example. So Photoshop for cinemagraphs. I like using it because I think you can do it in Premiere Pro, but the tools are a bit clunky, and Photoshop you can do masking, which is it's a lot more accurate, it's faster, and you can get really fine details and really hone in on what you want to do. So yeah, there are benefits for using both, but for this one, I used a mixture of both, which I'm going to show you now.
Cool. Is this London?
Yeah. This gives people anxiety, apparently. I had some comments when I originally posted this, like the trains.
Which way is the train going?
Oh, yeah, that's Demis's thing.
Yeah.
Well, I can show you which way it goes.
Yeah.
It's not stopping. This is the original footage. So it's shaky. It's handheld with the camera, and the guy moves, which in this example, I want to freeze him so he's not moving, and all you see is the train coming. And yeah, a lady walks into frame, which is not ideal. So we're gonna stabilize this and then speed up the train. It's moving quite slow. Yeah, I want an infinite train, so like this one, I sped it up quite a bit. I've used the frame blending to make it smooth, so that we can color grade it a bit as well. I want to freeze this guy, and yeah.
And we don't want the girl.
Yeah, so we can just trim her out.
You just trim that?
Yeah, so I handheld this footage, and it's 10 seconds long, so it shows that you can make a cinematograph out of, pretty easily out of handheld footage.
Yeah, that's pretty short, because does that include the girl walking in? Yeah, so you've really got 5 seconds.
Yeah. If you know what you're doing and you're lucky, sometimes it doesn't work out, and you're like, oh, you just got to dump it. But you learn as you do more of these.
Cool.
Yeah, London, they don't like when you shoot photographs and stuff on their train platforms.
No?
No, so we got kicked out of a few places. We
Really?
had a bigger camera, so they're like, get out.
Right.
Yeah, so you can't really set up a tripod.
Yeah.
And I filmed it on a DSLR, this one.
Wait, so did you get kicked out of multiple train stations for the offense of...
Oh, you need a permit.
Photo?
You need a permit and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
But it's funny, because you could probably take a photo on your phone, right?
Yeah, that's
no one would really care.
I think Demis was telling me he was at a hotel shooting this cool escalator once, and the guy was like, "Oh, you can use your phone, but not your big camera."
Right.
And so
it's like, all right.
Yeah.
So I can take not as good a photo.
Oh, if there's enough light, it's fine.
Yeah, right.
You can't tell the difference. Yeah. So, yeah, they usually don't have a problem with phones, so you could actually do this with a phone. I have done quite a few cinemagraphs with a phone. So,
cool.
Well, this one was with my phone.
Oh, wow.
It's really simple, but was going to show this example for looping on itself, but you can't even tell. I don't even think you need to loop it on itself because it's like quite subtle emotion. But let's get into it.
Very
good. Same thing, so I've imported over here. Let's just get rid of these. Right click, new sequence home clip. It's kind of dark. So the lens I was using has a vignette. We can fix all that later, and I'll show you how to quickly color grade it all.
Johanna was asking, have you ever tried to get a permit or anything like that? Like, is it worth it, or you just move on to something else?
Sometimes they don't know what's going on, because we were at, I can't remember which station was the bigger one in London.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh, we're shooting just, for fun. And the guy was like, yeah, that's fine. You need to go to this office to get a permit. So we went to the office, and he was like, yeah, it's fine. You don't need a permit, just go. So we started shooting, and then another guy rocked up with a go-kart. He's like, you can't be here.
Yeah.
So we just left.
Yeah, fairly arbitrary rules, it sounds.
It's fair, I guess.
Yeah.
You try to respect what they want. So we're going to delete the audio for this. You should loop audio too. I think audio helps a lot with cinemagraphs, but we're not going to get into that today. So this is the footage. When you press record, usually there's a bit of shake because you're pressing the button. So I usually trim the front off. So I could have this part, but then I didn't film the train actually leaving.
Yeah, because then it would be multiple trains following each other, right?
It'll fold onto itself, and it'll be a bit weird. So I want to get it so it's like, it looks like it could be another carriage, right?
Yeah.
So start from here. Q, I'll show you just a quick shortcut. So for Premiere, you press Q and it'll delete the front section, whatever's behind the timeline. So just press that, it's gone.
Cool.
Same thing if next to Q is W, right? So if you want to trim the back end, it's quite easy as well. We're probably gonna cut. She walks into frame here, so W to trim the back end off, and then we can work with that. So for this example, it's handheld, so it shakes a bit. You can kind of see, right? Let's try Wap Stabilizer. Hopefully this is a bit... Alright, so go here, no motion. It's pretty quick because it's like a 6-second video clip, so we can render. Hi guys, how's everyone going? There you go, see, it's pretty quick. Yeah, this one works quite well.
It works really well.
Because there's not much motion, and it has enough kind of contrast to pick and figure out what to do. So that's quite easy. Yeah, he moves. Like, I don't expect shooting cinemagraphs of people who aren't with you,
in on the game.
Well, they're strangers essentially.
Yeah.
You can't be like, hey, don't move. But he stays still for quite a while, and then he looks up. So I'll show you in Photoshop how to freeze him. I'll show you. You can actually do it on Premiere too, which I'll show you quickly if we have time.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so all right, let's get moving. I want to speed this up because right now it's quite slow. So let's speed it up. Press R, and then we're gonna speed it up. Oh, I keep forgetting. All right, so because you have Wap Stabilizer on it, you can't speed it up. You need to nest it, which I've got a shortcut. So once you nest it, then you can, because it thinks it's a new clip. So yeah, speed it up. I don't know how fast I want it to go. Maybe that's fine. All right, we're gonna do frame blending, and then trim the back frame off. Go to loop. For this purpose, let's just say that's fast enough, right?
Cool.
You can see his head move, and yeah, to quickly, it kind of annoys me is the vignette. In the Lumetri panel, you can just go to vignette and fix that a little bit. I won't color grade this one too much, just make it a bit brighter. Right?
Is that from your lens, or do you have a filter on your?
Yeah, it's not a filter. It's just the natural kind of look of the lens.
Right.
if you're doing photos, you can, like yesterday I showed you the lens correction. You press it, it'll read the metadata and then get rid of that. It's just like the physics of the actual lens.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, you speed it up. I've made it a bit brighter. This one loops quite well already. You could, we can cinemagraph it, so cut the back just to perfect the loop so it kind of folds onto itself a bit better. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
That's a good question. What is nesting, if you could explain that?
Nesting. So all the stuff that we've done to it, speeding it up and like all that kind of stuff, it wraps it into a new clip. So Premiere thinks that it's like all those settings are standard, like a part of the actual clip. So we use Wap Stabilizer to stabilize it, and because we've done that, you can't speed the clip up because you've like stabilized it and it doesn't know what to do. So when you nest it, it makes a new clip from that. Right. And then you can treat it as a brand new clip.
Do everything again, start adding stuff. Yeah. And then would you need to nest it again if you wanted to?
Oh, my nests get out of control sometimes. Like, yeah. It's not clicking, but anyway, for time's sake, let's just skip that part. So
cool.
You get how to fold onto stuff. Just do an opacity layer right there. You can do it in effects, but basically from here, I want him to not move. What you can do is find a frame where he's not moving or like he's in the right position that you want him. So looking down, that works for me. From here you can export a file. Tiff, I like, there's usually more info in Tiff, so import it into the project.
So it's okay for this to be a static? Like
so it'll just take a photo of like the actual frame. And we only need basically this guy, right? So you could do it in Premiere Pro, and this is how you do it. So when I press play, nothing will happen because it's a still image over the actual video. So if I turn it off, then it's back again. So what we want to do is just mask this guy. And to do that, you go to effects controls, opacity, and that's a mask. So you can just make a simple kind of, there's not much control. You can use the pen and get a bit, I don't know how to use the pencil, to be honest. Takes a while to master it, right? But I feel like a lot of designers and stuff will have a better grasp on it. But yeah, so I've made that so everything outside, for the still image that I put on top, only that part's showing. Which is not, I could do a better job, I'm sure, and you can kind of feather it if you pull this thing up. So
that's a quick feather, that's good.
Yeah. Alright, so when you play it, oh wait, why does it look up? Maybe inverts. Oh, sorry, I turned the layout, my bad. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, still.
There we go.
I want more control over this because you can see the kind of reflection.
Yeah.
It gets kind of annoying because you can see over here darkens and brightens, and over here I'm not really a fan. It looks like it's flickering almost, right? So I want to do it in Photoshop so I have more control over the masking, which is great if you want to freeze things in cinemagraphs. So right now I've already loops, this is the actual cinematograph. I've sped up the train and looped it. And yeah, this is one I made earlier, right? So it's the same thing. It still has flickering and stuff that I don't really like. See, it comes darker. So we're going to use Photoshop to get rid of that.
Cool. When you were talking about folding, is that just your terminology for it?
Yeah, we're coining it now.
Yeah,
like
so we're getting questions about folding, whether it's technical or not. But yeah, I like the idea of it folds in on itself. It makes a lot of sense. But
depending on what you're doing, if you're doing waves, it kind of does fold on to itself. I think.
Yeah, I like it.
Probably not the right term. So, but you're here now, and all right. So there's a shortcut to take a still frame. So we did it in Premiere Pro, which is that button, right? But you can do the same thing in Photoshop. I keep forgetting what it is, but all right, so you want to find where his head position's the right way, so he's looking down. I like that. This is the shortcut. I've saved it because I keep forgetting. But if you want to screenshot it, this is how you make a still layer in Photoshop. Shift, Option, Command E. Click the layer, Shift, Option, Command E. Alright, so it's spat out a JPEG, like a still image. You want to put it onto a different layer, so out of the video group, sorry. Move it on top, and then trim it to size. Alright, you press play, nothing will happen because it's a still image. So if you've used Photoshop before, masking is pretty good.
Masking is your friend.
Yeah. I've inverted it so it's dark, so it's black, and then it's pretty much off at the moment. So I'm seeing where I need to mask it in. I don't really want this stuff because it's kind of distracting, and I want him to be still. So you can paint it in. These are the areas where I want it to kind of yeah, so let's do a bit more up here. That's kind of annoying me still, so yeah, I like the detail. So if you look over here, you can see it still.
As Chat was saying, that's from the train, isn't it? So would you ever loop the like keep it in? Like you want to keep the reflection in, or would you always remove it?
These are just details.
Just distracting, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it'll set you apart if you notice these details more often.
Right.
But, it's fine if you don't. I don't think many people would know or care that much, but a bit OCD. So now it's gone, so I can show you with it off. It's distracting. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's almost like it's flickering because we sped it up. It does look like a light flicker, but it's just the train reflections.
Right. Cool.
And yeah, that's how you kind of you can use Photoshop to put still images over things and then mask it, so you can freeze certain things and you can get rid of certain things. And if I wanted to, I could use all the functions of sorry. Yeah, you can spot clean stuff as well. Yeah. Yeah, that helps a lot. So this part of it. Yeah, you can clean up the floor if you want. Oh, sorry. Yeah, basically, I use a mixture of both, depending on what I want to do. Both of Photoshop and Premiere and After Effects if I need to. But they turn out pretty good. They're well received on the internet and social media, and it's something different that you can post on Instagram. It takes a bit more work, but you can use your phone. So.
What are some of the best? We've only got a couple minutes left, Chat. So if you've got any questions, go for it now. We're going to go straight out. Yeah. But what are some of the best places to shoot? So we saw trains and kind of waterfalls. But what's your go-to?
Oh, I can show you. You want motion that's kind of easy, like that'll work. You can experiment, but it can get complicated if you want. So this one, like we were going to show, it gets quite complicated. And if you're filming with someone that you don't know, you might not go the way you want, but you can experiment. So waterfalls work because it folds onto itself. Right. We're coining that term. But trains work because the motion's quite repetitive and predictable. But I've got some here. This is more of a time lapse, actually. Let me find. Yeah, there's experiment around and see what works. What's going on, guys? Any questions? Just going through my Instagram at the moment. Yeah. Trying to find this one. So this one.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing this one.
Yeah, I mean, Demis both did it. So, all right. So this part is one video that I sped up. It's looping. It's like a boomerang. It loops back and forward. You can see the
shot with the drone.
Yeah. They stop and then they walk back and forward. But I wanted the water color graded differently and also at normal speed. So kind of right. That's a easy kind of mask. It's quite straight edged and yeah.
Yeah, super cool. We've got about a minute left. What are we up to tomorrow? Do you want to give a plug for yourself?
Tomorrow, maybe photography techniques a bit more, like going into that kind of stuff. And yeah, what would you like to see, really? I got to put something together today.
Yeah, cool.
So, surprise you, but come back tomorrow. Check my Instagram. I'll post like what we're going to talk about tomorrow over there.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining us, especially those talking about being at 6 a.m. in the morning. That is dedication. 1 o'clock here. But thank you everyone. Thank you for the chat. Thank you for some of the suggestions. We saw those in there, so we'll have a read through of those. Stick around. We'll be back in about 5 minutes with Demis Rusley. Thank you so much.
Cheers. See you guys.
Bye.